Hi again there everybody, Boyd here with you. Well, the model kit you're looking at in front of you is the kit that I just finished building up for the 2017 Cancer Awareness Group Build hosted by Kenny May over at his Mindless Modelworks YouTube channel. Thanks for putting that together again this year, Kenny. Always enjoy taking part in that. Uh, this is the 1/25th scale Polar Lights Richard Petty 1969 Torino Talladega NASCAR. And I picked this kit because of the light blue color to represent cancer awareness for prostate cancer. And the Torino Talladega I always thought was a really cool car, and a big fan of Richard Petty. So this kit went together pretty nice. It has a few issues. Some of you guys out there that might already know about it, I'll talk about that real quick. When you take the kit out of the box, you're going to find out that the body here is kind of got a little bit of a warp in it in the front. The front fenders from about halfway through the wheel well forward is kind of tilted upward a little bit, and apparently even after this kit's been repopped 3 or 4 times now, they haven't corrected that problem. So it takes a little bit of heat. You can either use some hot water, or you can use some your heat gun like I did on a low setting, and just gradually kind of bend them back down. It doesn't take a whole lot. They're not that far off, but just enough to where the kit looks kind of funky if you don't fix it. And then after I got the fenders straightened out, I noticed that the hood didn't fit very well either. The front edge was kind of, sticking up a little bit, so I heated the front edge of that and kind of rolled it back down, and got that to fit pretty good. The kit's a skill level 3. It's got a lot of detail parts, high parts count kit. Really a nice model when you get it done, though. It's typical of a lot of, say, your like AMT type kits where some of the things don't fit too well and you have to work around with them a little bit. All the pin to peg holes, the holes were too small. They all had to be opened up a little bit so the parts would fit together nice and tight and everything. But other than that, just your typical modeling stuff that we're all used to. So I'd have to say overall it's a pretty decent kit. And I just like the fact that these vintage NASCAR kits are even available, because that's my favorite. This is some of my favorite era of NASCAR racing, the late 60s, early 70s. There were some really beautiful looking cars out there, and they all had a lot of character back then. And I'm a big fan of Richard Petty, like I said, and kind of interestingly, 69 is the only year that he ever drove a Ford. He had some kind of an internal argument, some issues going on with the design team over at Chrysler, so he went to Ford that year, and they said, yeah, we'll be happy to put you in a car. So he drove this car that year. Not sure how many races he won, but I think he had some success in it. So kind of an interesting part of Richard Petty's history. The kit is pretty cool because you get the option of either building, you can use the Boss 429 engine, which is what I used in this kit, or you can build the 427 engine, either one, because apparently Ford was running both engines in these cars that year. And it's nice that they give you 2 complete engines, not just different heads or whatever. So the engines are nice and accurate. Just had to build the Boss 429 because that was just such a cool engine. It was their answer to the Chrysler Hemi, and they were pretty successful in racing, but they weren't that great of an engine on the street, as a lot of people know. But overall, like I said, it's a really nice kit. I painted the body with this craft acrylic paint. First time I've ever used it on a car build, and I gotta say I'm pretty happy with it. I used this neon blue color and this perennial blue to get the Richard Petty classic Richard Petty blue look there. Started off with the neon blue, which is the lighter of the two, because I knew it had to be kind of bright, and then I just it was a little bit too bright out of the bottle, so I just used a few drops of this stuff to darken it up just a little bit. And of course the wheels were supposed to be dark, almost like a navy blue. That's back in the day before they actually had an aftermarket company that, I think Bassett Wheel is who provides all the rims for NASCAR now, that familiar kind of slotted look. But back in those days, they just used regular factory steel wheels that were widened out a little bit. And also interesting, in 1969 I found out was that that was the first year that they started actually using real racing slicks. Some of the tires they were using up to that point still had tread on them. So some cool stuff happening in '69. Now Ford did a lot of work on this car to get it ready for NASCAR, and it had quite a few modifications from a different than a regular street Torino. Namely, they had the extended front fenders which were actually from a Mercury Montego, and they used the rear bumper on the front because it was more aerodynamic. And they did some work on the rocker panels to make the car where they could drop the front end down a lot lower in the front and still have ground clearance. And it worked out pretty well. What I really like about this kit too is I like the rake that the car has. They represent that drop down front end really nice here, because the spindles, when you look at your parts in the kit, they're definitely dropped. So it looks really nice sitting that way. I'll show you the bottom of it here. Like I said, it's a high parts count kit, so you get a lot of detail here. You get the whole detail of the quad shock absorber setup, all the typical NASCAR gear. The headers were a little bit of a pain, especially the one on the passenger or the driver's side here. It didn't want to fit. There was very minimal clearance, with those huge heads that are on that Boss 429. So I had to heat the individual tubes up a little bit and move them around a little bit, but eventually got them in there. One of the neat things that came on this I thought was cool is they actually give you this little rear end brace there you can see, which is not something you normally see on a NASCAR kit, but they actually use those, so that little extra detail was pretty nice. I did the exhaust system here in some all-clad aluminum, and then as I said, the body was painted with the I'll show you the engine here really quick too. The body was painted with the craft acrylic paints, and then I sealed that up with some regular Tester's gloss coat before I put my decals on, because you want to have a nice smooth surface when you're putting your decals down. But one of the things that I found out about craft acrylic paints too when you're doing decal work is that you want to definitely have a seal coat on there, because water can make stains on it. It's not the same as your regular enamel or acrylic paints that you're used to working with. It won't completely come off or anything like that with water, but it can leave some weird stains in it, because it's a little bit of a soft paint. So before you do any decal work, I definitely recommend sealing it up with something. So I just used regular Tester's gloss coat, sealed it, and then I put all my decals down. Now this kit comes with the decals are provided by Slicks, which a lot of you car model guys out there will know that Slicks has been around for a long time. They basically came out when in the early 90s or late 80s, whenever it was, the kit manufacturers decided that they could no longer produce decals for these NASCAR kits that had anything to do with tobacco or beer advertising. So I think Slicks came along because a lot of guys wanted to build accurate cars, like the Skoal Bandit and the Miller Genuine Draft cars and some of those kind of cars. And so they made the decals for those, Budweiser, a few other ones. And but they became really popular, and they're really high quality decals, so it was nice to see those included in this kit. And they went down on the model just absolutely beautiful. I mean, they laid down, didn't have to use any setting solution or anything like that, and then it only took a couple of coats to clear to seal them up really good. So after I got the decals all down on it, I finished off the body with some of my regular automotive 2K clear and buffed it out a little bit and got that nice gloss on it. But like I said, everything on the model worked out pretty well in the end. Just your normal fiddling around that you have to do on your AMT kits and some of that. Now here, this nice aluminum look I got here, I did with the Vht Chrome Spray, something that I haven't tried before. I saw a couple of videos on that on YouTube and thought I'd give it a try, and I'm really, really happy with it. It's really similar to All-Clad, but it's a lot less expensive. You get a big, spray can of it for like $7, where a little bitty, tiny bottle of All-Clad has costed me like $9. So, and it dries pretty fast, much faster than I've seen a lot of this other, chrome paint. I tried Duplicolor, I tried Rust-Oleum, I tried some other ones, and it just takes forever for it to dry. You can smudge it really easy, you can chip it really easy. This stuff actually dries pretty fast, and it dries where you can buff it out. I haven't buffed this. I wanted to leave this kind of looking like aluminum, but if you buff on that a little bit, it'll look just like almost like a chrome finish. So it's some good stuff. I recommend trying it out if you guys haven't tried it before. And then around the windows here, I did with just a regular silver Sharpie. Because on this particular car, all that trim is supposed to look more like a brushed aluminum and not chrome. I have the Molotov chrome pens, but they would have been too bright on that. Those are more like for use on like a street car or something like that. And we did the wheels in dark blue, like I said, with the the navy blue, and just had a lot of fun working on it. Did a little bit of a wash here on the front grille. It has two different types of grills. This one here has kind of got the mesh detail, and the other one is more of a street kind of version. Here's a look at the back. We're going to turn the turntable on here at the end and spin it around a couple times and get a little closer look for you guys so you can check it out. But great kit, like I said, and I'm really happy that there's these vintage stock car kits out there now. A little bit of work, you can make it turn out pretty decent. I'm going to pick up a couple more of these. They've got a really nice Cale Yarborough Mercury Cyclone spoiler 69 that I want to grab, and a couple of the other ones. Like I said, I'm really into the vintage NASCAR stuff. I think that was one of their, some of their most memorable era of NASCAR racing. And the cars all had a lot of character back then, which now they kind of all look the same. But I'm still a fan and everything, but it's not quite what it used to be. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed seeing this. I had a lot of fun working on it. Thanks again for Kenny to put these group builds together. Always enjoy participating in them, and we had a lot of fun, and we'll be doing it again next year. So there you go, guys. There's our Torino Talladega. Hope you enjoyed seeing it. A little rotating on the pedestal here at the end for you, and we'll call this a wrap, guys. Until we see you next time, take care, and happy modeling, everyone.